This week's episode of Radio Loud is brought to you by nothing. We do this because we love it.
I actually thought when you hit the mini pad over there, you had something queued up. I was like, what? My ears kind of perked up there.
Oh, right. No MeUndies, no Stamps.com. We're just doing it because
Dollar Shave Club.
The love of the game, man. We'll get there one day. But yeah, this is made possible by viewers like you.
And the love we have.
So yeah, this is Radio Loud. I'm Douglas Delbert. Joining me today is Stephen Weber. And we got... Sorry we missed you last week. It turns out you can't do a talk show if you can't talk.
Yeah, you were under the weather.
I was a little bit more than under the weather, man.
By
I was
a couple of degrees.
Yeah. I had texted you earlier, like the day before. I was like, I don't think that this
is
week's
gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
So I didn't want to be that dude, like canceling the day of. Like, I can't stand that. It's like, if you know you're not gonna be able to do it, you usually know unless there's some sort of like emergency or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, it was like, I
enjoyed my day off.
I was like fucking John Malkovich and Con Air Cyrus the Virus sick, man.
Oh boy.
But yeah, that's like pretty much all my shit. Like, all I have from like my week in the past was I was like really sick and my car battery died when I could finally go to the grocery store, and I had to do all like pull a battery out and charge it and be all worried about that shit like while I'm just like ill. And then my fucking neighbor comes to me and is like, the bathroom is leaking into the into my bathroom. Like 4 a.m. text. Because like the last time I happened, he was polite enough to wait until, like acceptable hours to text somebody. And I was just like, no, dude. You have to call me immediately if this is like happening. I was like, I don't care if it's in the middle of the night.
Have you seen the damage? Has he like showed you?
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's just a little bit of discoloration or whatever. He's been like pretty good sport about it. But yeah, I ended up having to like figure out what kind of faucet I had because it's not marked, and then figure out what was wrong with it. And it's like a Moen, and they have these little cartridges on the inside. And it was just a whole ordeal. Like, my fucking valves were frozen, so I couldn't turn the water off right away. And just, like, going through all that shit, I'm just sweating my ass off, like, working in the wall, working in the dark, because I'm a foul bachelor, and I only have a few light bulbs that I don't use in my bedroom because I'm never in there. So it's just dark in there. So I'm, like, fumbling in my closet with a flashlight, trying to get the cats not to fall into this.
Just plumbers cracking it too.
Yeah. But the valve is like in the wall between some studs, and it's just a pit of doom below it. So I'm just like thinking to myself, what if one of the cats get in there that I'm not supposed to have? And just
boarded up,
falls. So what do you got from this week, man?
It's been... So I shared the bed bug story, but it has taken a while for me to mentally adjust.
Keep talking.
It has taken a while for me to mentally adjust to, like, mentally, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh shit, maybe I have bed bugs, and it's hard to sleep. Like, it's hard to sleep, like any little itch, like I got an ingrown hair on my leg, I'm like, that could be a bite. I'm psychologically damaged. But I finally have started getting some decent sleep. Like, I know that I don't have bed bugs because I'm not an idiot. But I'm finally starting to get good sleep, and it's...
Hey, man, it can happen to anybody, man.
I know, but I don't have them, and it's been about...
I'm not a filthy human being.
It's like 2 a.m, and I feel a shake on my shoulder, and Brittany's like, you need to wake up. So did I share the story of my ordering a headboard from Amazon? I tried to order a bed frame.
Not that I remember.
Okay, I tried to order a bed frame from Amazon. It was supposed to be 2 boxes. Out of the 3 attempts that I made to get this frame delivered, it only succeeded once, and I only got half of it.
Oh, yeah, you seem to have problems with Amazon deliveries.
I usually never do, but this time I did, and I got full refunds every time I tried to order it. But anyway, so I just had this headboard sitting in my bedroom because there was no frame for it. And Brittany's shaking me at 2 a.m. There's something in the headboard. And I'm like,
how long have you had this?
Like a month. It's just been leaning up in this corner. And I'm like, she's crazy. She has no idea what she's talking about. And I sit up and I can hear it. It's like a scraping, like Frank Reynolds is about to climb out of the inside, from the inside of a couch, you know? Like I can hear scraping coming from the headboard. And it's not coming from somewhere else. I put my ear up against it and I can hear like a nail scratching on the other side of it. So it's like 2 a.m. Just like, oh, it's haunted. I tipped it over. I shook it. I smacked it. I hit it. I tried to get it to stop.
Some response?
No. It just continuous scratching from the inside of it. So I'm like, I fumbled and punched
really
this thing.
Spooky.
Yeah, I fumbled and punched this thing for a good 2.5 minutes, and then when I laid it down in the entryway that we have, it stopped, and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to bed. Fuck it. Next day, I set it back up. It didn't seem to make any sound. Maybe 5 days later, the same thing happened. I don't know what it was. I was tempted to take a knife and cut it open and see what was going on, but I just donated the fucking thing to Goodwill. Have my dad come. What the fuck? I fucking have my dad come pick it up. We load it up in the truck. I'm just like, you guys can have this. It's a perfectly good headboard. It's haunted though.
What the fuck, dude? Oh man, honestly, what the fuck could survive that long on the inside?
It would have had to have been there in months.
Right.
I think because I had it tilted up instead of the lengthwise how it's supposed to lay. I think maybe something was settling in there, or the leather at first was, I don't know, adjusting or something over time. I don't know what it was, but
you couldn't be fucked to open it and find out, could you?
Well, I wasn't gonna cut it open with a knife, and the zippers that it has are sealed underneath. It's impossible unless it's a super small thing to get in there, because it's stapled shut on the bottom with leather pieces, and the zippers are pulled underneath what is stapled over. You can't open it.
Hey man, factories got critters.
Yeah,
you know,
it's gone.
Some sort of fucking undead skitter on the inside.
It is fucking gone.
Stefan!
I was just the weirdest thing was the dog didn't react to it in any way. The thing that gets set off by footsteps downstairs didn't.
This is some Edgar Allan Poe shit, man. Maybe it was just in your fucking heads, man.
I don't know, but it's gone now, so no more headboard.
I just like how it was enough to be nope, not opening that.
Well, it's it's perfectly good, and I'd be really pissed off if I cut it open and there was nothing wrong with it, and I just ruined the headboard. But I guess it doesn't matter, so I just donated it anyway. But they wouldn't have taken it if it was damaged like that. I don't know. Someone's gonna get a nice haunted headboard, and they'll have a good story. I told Brittany, I was like, what if I cut it open though, and it's The Mummy, and it's just full of scarabs, and that's how we die.
That movie has one of my all-time favorite shit on characters from the first one, Benny.
Oh, the shitty helper guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. But now it's back to not sleeping very well. Every little itch on my body, I'm just oh, am I infected? I don't know if I told you this, but middle of the night, I had a couple itches. This was right after the incident happened, and I sat up with my phone light, just watching my only underwear body on the bed, uncovered, just if they're in this bed, they'll come and bite me, and I'll be able to see them with my phone camera. And Brittany woke up in the middle of the night. What the fuck are you doing? Just I don't know.
You're
checking.
You're like fucking Ripley on the like Earth Dock space station after she gets back and she's having like the nightmares of the xenomorph.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was like. It's terrible. But I'm finally getting some good sleep, but no, I'm sleeping too much.
You know, I'm sorry if it fucked with you. It probably did when I sent you that picture of you superimposed over the bed bugs.
That wasn't that bad. That wasn't that bad.
You just text me back. You're like, gross.
But I did ask. I was like, can you add the 50s, like...
the shitty spooky text?
Yeah. Just like, oh,
Bugs.
living dead. Bugs. Radioactive bugs. They're huge.
Before we made it a highlight, that got us a lot of play. That was one of our
like
better...
the bad stories.
Yep. So that's why one of the reasons we try to start an episode with some Tales from the Week, just start you off with some stuff that you're not going to hear about anywhere else. Just a little bit of...
I got another tale from the week, too.
Oh, yeah?
So, have you ever... I mean, it happens to everybody, but just a store or something that you have a linked childhood memory just getting closed down. You got one of those?
I don't know about closed down, but
Like demolished.
maybe one will come to mind once you tell your story.
So I was driving to the doctor's office last week, and I took a way I don't usually take. I haven't really driven that way since I was a kid, but I passed like the first McDonald's I ever went to, where I got my first McFlurry. And I don't know why, but seeing this thing destroyed and just being a flat gravel lot was weird and mildly unsettling.
Come on, there's like a million of them, though.
I know, but it was like, that's where I had my first McFlurry. Like, one McFlurry's came out, and I got one there. And it was just like a pit of gravel. And I know there's a million of them, but that's why it was weird. Because I have no real emotional attachment to McDonald's. But I was like, oh, I had a weird childhood memory there where I had a McFlurry for the first time and almost cracked a tooth on an M&M or something.
It's harder for me because where I live currently is not where I spent my formative years. So
That's
like
true.
A lot of my like childhood attachments are attached to a different geographic area that I have no desire to go back to. Like, the people are nice, but there's just nothing up there. There's no opportunity up there.
It's the untamed lands.
That's why people say to me, is like, oh, I just want to move up north and like raise my kid or whatever. I'm just like, for God's sakes, don't. And I try to just tell them like what they don't get is it's like cool for them. You know, if you're an adult and you want to get away from society, for a kid, it's terrible. They are stuck there. And if it's the only kid that is that age, you know, and
What are they going to do?
yeah, and like you're going to be stuck. Like, if you're a good parent, like my parents went out of their way to make sure I had like, you know, friends and attachments and stuff like that. But they were going out of their way to like drive us,
man,
you know.
turn the lawnmower into a race car for you. So I mean, they were going out of their way.
There was like other kids in the town, but they were older than me, you know? So I don't know. I got probably exposed to like more inappropriate things through them quicker.
You ever seen a Playboy?
Oh man, that's something that the kids nowadays will never have to deal with. Like, when you wanted to like get your hands on some pornographic magazines, you had to go out.
Communal community effort.
Yeah, you had to go out with your friends and find someone's stash that was just in a stump someplace.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, cool, porno mags.
Yeah, you get lucky, find something maybe at the park, which is probably disgusting.
Right. We found we were lucky enough to have some friends that were they were kind of maintaining like a apartment complex, and we dumpster dive in the back of this stuff, and we found a mother load. We just like somebody probably like got a new girlfriend and just dumped their porno stash, something like that, and we were just like, oh, the gods have given us a gift. We're just like these desperate like middle schoolers, and we just like found this huge porno stash. So it was like, oh, everybody gets to take their pick.
There was a guy at work telling me that they used to have like 4 or 5 VHSs that they'd circle around their friend group when they were younger because that's all they had. One of them was like a not a good one, just like a super large woman crushing a man, and sometimes they'd slip it on the other one and bamboozle each other. But speaking of mother loads, I remember Half Price Books. Then they had the one on Brown Deer Road. It's not there anymore. I remember I went there once, and some guy was trying to trade in Half Price Books his porno mag stash. And he was like, "There's some really good stuff in here." You know, he had like 2 garbage bags full of porno mags, and he's busting out like the top 3 or 5 and like throwing them out on the counter. He's just like, "What do you mean you won't take these? There's a lot of value in these."
If there was a lot of value in them, sorry guy, you'd be selling them on like eBay or an auction house, not Half Price Books.
The guy behind the counter was ready with that, and he said, "Maybe to you, but not to me."
Oh man, I could not imagine just like having that little amount of shame going into an establishment like that.
Desperate times.
Yeah, maybe he was a drug addict and needed his next fix or something like that.
Oh, now we have the internet.
So I hear there's
An orange monster rampaging across the U.S. Yeah, there is. It's the new NHL mascot, Gritty.
And what'd you say? He must be stopped?
Yeah.
Let's see this guy. Like,
this is.
Oh my God!
He looks
Look
like
at this Cookie Monster.
I know he looks like Cookie Monster's weird uncle.
He looks like Cookie Monster fucked a Viking.
They got this picture.
Oh my God!
My friend texted me. He's like, "Why does it?" He's like, "I understand, like maybe the hairiness, but why does it have childbearing hips?" So it's
so they can just hire any old schmo to get stuck in one of those things.
So the
man.
Flyers actually used to have an older mascot, but this one comes with googly eyes, like these eyes Google and they rattle around. It's definitely horrifying, but I can't say
this one. Call it this one.
I can't say
that's like a good. Look at this guy. Oh my God.
I can't say I'm too surprised considering the last Flyers mascot was pretty similar to this, a little bit noodlier without the childbearing hips and shorter hair. Kind of looked like an orange Elmo almost. And this is the same state that gave us the Philly. The Philly, what's that thing's name?
Fanatic.
Yeah, the Philly Fanatic. So I
that guy's fucking great though. He had that one bit where he was like doing dance moves and he had a chick that was like from the crowd that was mimicking him, and then he like pulls up his shirt to flash and then looks at her to do it. That guy's great.
Gritty and the Philly have already danced together, so. But
this. It's like fucking Christmas coming in early. Baseball season's hardly coming to a close and you got fucking hockey butting its ass into it.
Yeah, hockey just started, but
you know, I was looking at.
Do you find this thing more horrifying, or do you find this thing more? Here's his reveal party. We got a video.
Really, I could not imagine this. Like, oh, we're revealing him. Ta-da! And everyone's like, oh, look at those eyes.
So do you find this more horrifying, or do you find this okay? I think he does a couple Fortnite dances in here because that's what the kids
he starts
like.
Flossing, do some dabs.
Yeah, he looks like.
God, look at those
He looks like
eyes.
Cookie Monster's terrible uncle.
Like I had said, it looks like Cookie Monster fucked a Viking. Straight up. It looks like Cookie Monster fucked my cousin.
He's the reason Cookie Monster's messed up. So you find this guy more horrifying?
No, I like him. I like him. He's like a fucking Muppet you can wear. I think we need more Muppets in sports. Why don't we just have Muppet League?
Yeah, he those childbearing hips, for sure.
Oh, look, he's so silly. I feel like I'd like to see this shit. As Zamboni goes through, they send him out to fucking get on the crowd. He like does that bit, fucking like hair freezes to the fucking rink. They got to come out and like pick him up. My dad, once I I'd mentioned I went to a hockey game. He's like, I went to a hockey game once. They fucking had some sort of ceremony where they brought out the Zambonis, they freshened up the ice, and then they rolled out a red carpet and had some sort of presentation. And then once it was over, the red carpet had like frozen to the ice rink. And they had to come and like scrape it off the fucking ice. God. And it probably like ruined the ice for the rest of the game because there was still more game to go.
Yeah, it probably did. It probably messed them up pretty bad. But you don't find Gritty nightmare fuel? Because some people are referring to him as
really
just the thing of nightmares. Which, ironically, I guess they have a new beer coming out for him, also called Nightmare Fuel.
Is this just a coincidence, or
it had to be planned because they've been building up his release as a mascot over, I think, the last month, maybe, because they did some renovations and they said that they found this monster underneath the Wells Fargo Stadium. So they've been building up this release, and then the beer must have been timed with it, and it's called Nightmare.
So it is like a beer for the mascot, though?
Yeah, it goes with him. I think it's going to be limited release.
I like him. You know what they could have done to make him more horrifying? They could have gave him like actual like fake teeth and like punched a few out on the mascot instead of just giving the blank Muppet mouth.
Well, Conan had a little bit with Gritty on there, and they demasked him. I don't know if you got to.
They pulled it off. His name is Gritty.
Yep, that's the mascot's name. It was really good. They did a really great job.
Oh, man. Man, I love me some Conan. I've been watching Norm Macdonald has a show.
On Netflix?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
I think Letterman has something to do with the production of that. And Norm Macdonald has basically taken his YouTube/podcast show that he used to do, and then he's
just put it on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix now. And it's remarkably cleaned up. It depends on the guest that he has. It depends on if he has like somebody who is from his past and he's worked with, like David Spade. David Spade and him were on SNL together, and they'd always give each other shit. So that episode was like absolutely filthy. But then he has like Judge Judy on. He's like,
it's cleaned up.
Yeah, he's like such a gentleman, and like Judge Judy isn't exactly like
the most buttoned down woman.
Yeah, no, she to her own admission can be a little filthy, but tries not to do it. But it was like weird because you're used to Norm Macdonald being like a certain way, and just having
watching
him being
not watching him pull punches is strange.
Mm-hmm. No, watching him pull punches is like what I'm used to.
No, I mean hold back.
Yeah, but I watched Letterman's episode this week, and I've seen Letterman on his show before, and it's like weird, like seeing David Letterman say "fuck." But it was like a really good episode because Letterman and Norm have a long history of Norm going on Letterman being a guest, but it made me think of that because Norm's segments on Conan, like Norm Macdonald's and Bill Burr's Conan segments, always slay. They're always just the most epic shit I have ever seen on like late night. Particularly Conan, because Conan's kind of like my Johnny Carson,
Yeah, I can agree to that. Conan is probably still my favorite late night host. I haven't seen him in ages. But
I am glad he took to doing the internet video thing. I think he kind of like laid the groundwork for that. I mean, Kimmel probably did first. Fallon can suck a dick.
His laugh is so fake.
I know, it's so forced and so fake.
I know that there are people that just have laughs like that. I've been around them.
You can tell he is just over laughing in some spots.
But I'm not a fan of the Fallon late night.
Yep.
Just overall, that's not for me.
I grew up with Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel taught me what masturbation was.
Man show?
Yep. I used to watch him on Win Ben Stein's Money.
Yep.
And then The Man Show and a bunch of shit.
I loved me some win Ben Stein's money.
Oh yeah, that is such a great trivia show. And it was cool, like seeing. I was like, really, Kimmel's gonna get to do the late night show now? I was like, that's awesome.
But Conan's is still better.
Yep. I like Kimmel has that soft spot in my heart. Like I can watch him.
Yeah.
And I always enjoy what he does, but Conan is my like late night TV true love.
Yeah.
Because,
I agree with that.
Because when I was growing up with Kimmel in like Win Ben Stein's Money, fucking Conan was still doing this show. Like he's been doing it for a long time now, like early 90s.
Yep, he was. It's been referenced in many pop culture shows that he's doing late night stuff and everything for a long time. Even there's a Futurama reference on it when that show came out in the early 90s, mid 90s.
Well, how could they not? Like fucking SNL and fucking Conan O'Brien, they all kind of like shared writers. Like Conan was a writer for The Simpsons, so you know.
Yeah, he's been doing what he's been doing.
Speaking of that stuff, like Disenchantment's finally like really growing on me. Like I'm 5 episodes and I'm trying not to binge it. I'm just like watching one episode here and there and like kind of just trying to like actually watch instead of just going into a binge and not watching half of it. But I really dig this show. Like it's got that Simpsons Futurama charm that the Simpsons have even lost, you know?
Yep, you can tell Matt Groening is taking time with it and has given it time. Which you can tell in The Simpsons and New Futurama not so much.
But honestly, New Futurama, I kind of, like I said, binged, and I didn't really give it its fair shake. It was just something that was on in the background.
Yep. But I like Disenchanted also. It's good. I enjoy it quite a bit.
So what do we got on the docket next? Live long and prosper, humans.
We got 3 stories for you to pick from. You want to talk Apple? You want to talk Elon? You want to talk Witcher? Or you want to talk Armello City Council, Amarillo?
That one's like, we'll just go into that one later. Let's talk the Witcher. Have you read over this?
I skimmed an article about this, not the exact article you brought up. So The Witcher is a video game made by a company, CD.
Well, it was originally a book. And then...
Okay, yeah, that's a better lead-in.
Yeah. It was originally a book written in the 1970s, and it has to do with basically a witch exterminator, like a supernatural exterminator guy. It's like...
Inquisitor, witch hunter, Van Helsing-esque character.
Yeah, and it's set in a medieval type setting. It's not like medieval in the past on Earth. But I thought this story was interesting because The Witcher 3 was one of the best-selling video games of recent years. And it doesn't really matter if you're into video games or anything like that. Like, this was something when it came out was very well received in pop culture. It is one of the most successful pieces of media of all time.
Video game wise, for sure. Yeah.
So basically, the developer, CD Projekt Red, offered the author a percentage when they started developing
The Witcher series, because they made we said Witcher 3, so they made 2 previously, which were not... I mean, there's definitely...
Witcher 2 is pretty good, but...
I mean, there are definitely people that enjoy those games, but it was not the amazing success that 3 was. 3 was a big deal.
Mm-hmm. So they went to him and, said, we'll offer you a percentage of the sales to use your intellectual property. And he's basically like scoffs at it because it's basically an old guy who doesn't get video games. And he's like, fuck that. It'll never succeed. Just give me my cash now. So he settles for, I think it was like 9,500. What's the Polish currency?
hold on a second. I think you're in the right ballpark, but it would be Polish Zoilats.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to see the amount he was given. I'm pretty sure you're pretty close on. I don't know if it's in this article. It was something small though. It was like $9,000 something. I'm pretty sure.
So fast forward, this was probably around the 2000s when the first Witcher came out. Fast forward to now, this video game is just this international success, and it could even be argued that more people know The Witcher because of the video game.
More than the book series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this guy is like taking a stance that it's like bastardized his book sales, when in all actuality, there are more people that have bought his book than ever would have before because of the video game. So he is suing them.
Yes, he's suing them for about 16 million in copyright royalties claim, but he's suing them under a specific Polish law and clause, which I don't remember the specifics of, but that was the big thing about this.
But what the developer has basically said is that there's no precedent for this. Like, we made a deal with you, and you basically told us to go fuck ourselves and give us a lump sum. Because
his lawyers are trying to argue it was only for the first game, though.
Right. And they're trying to say that they just bought the rights to the intellectual property outright, and he just wanted to pay out. So that's that. So he's potentially suing for, I think, what is it, 16%, or was it 16 million? It's a decent chunk of change. I mean, this just kind of seems like standard practice. Like, why wouldn't he try to take his fair shake at this? Yeah, it's a little scummy, but
he wants 6% of the profits, which is about 16 million. So that can give you some indication of how successful this video game was.
Mm-hmm. It was very successful. We're talking like Game of the Year awards here.
Yep.
I remember when that first came out, I was laid up because I had broken my leg, and I was just like, I played through The Witcher 2, going like never having heard of it before. Just because I had nothing to fucking do, and The Witcher 2 was like $5. That was even an interesting game. And then The Witcher 3 came out, and it's just like,
I still haven't played it.
Dude, it is worth a fair shake. It is a great open world game. It's one of my favorites because CD Projekt Red is a very small company compared to somebody who'd given you Skyrim. But like the game environment area is bigger than Skyrim.
Just as good.
Or better. Like the combat's definitely better than Skyrim.
Skyrim doesn't have great combat.
Even then, I don't care. That's such a great game.
It's pretty fun.
So
I like Red Dead Redemption. I'm a little upset that that's not going to be on PC right away. I'm sure it'll come out eventually, but
one of the interesting things I saw brought up in this discussion was the author, like talking about like authors who had books adapted into video games. Metro 2033. There is
I love that game.
Russian writer. I have not played it. I own them. I bought them on sale, and they're just sitting in my library.
They're fun.
The writer of that book outright said that the writer of The Witcher is
an idiot.
And a douchebag. He has no founding for he has no perspective on the amount of traffic that has been brought to him and how much more sales he's gotten out of it because of the great success of the video game series. And I'm guessing that, I don't know if the author of Metro 2033 was a little younger, but it straight up just seemed like a case of the guy who wrote The Witcher seemed to be of the perspective that video games are some sort of like brainless medium, and there's no like area for artistic expression or expression of story, which might have been the case in like the 8-bit side-scrolling days, but is not anymore. Like you have
A
awesome
grand story
narrative.
that can be
Yeah.
wove. Yeah.
You have stories that can be woven even more intricately than movies can, because you can give the user or the player the choice and change the outcome of the game based on decisions that they make, and you can make
Which has
people
just become more and more popular in recent times. Stories used to be much more linear. You're going to find Metro's relatively linear, but now a lot of stories, there's 6 different endings you could get.
even back in the 90s, you had Wing Commander. That was one of the first games to really like give you, depending on how you played the game, the outcome of the gameplay and the choices that you made in like the cinematic cutscenes, that had an influence on the ending that you would get. And you could replay the game and get a different ending depending on what you did.
Yep. But it's just become more prevalent in a more open roaming style experience where there's many different outcomes to many different narratives, where instead of having maybe 6 different endings, now there's thousands upon thousands of combinations that could play out. Maybe the final credit, the final scene before the credits won't have that many variations, but the end result of the many individual stories and almost like side missions you can do can play out. And
I feel like that's almost peaked in a way, you know. You've had games that really did give a lot of choice, and now like the Telltale games, if you're familiar with that.
that company just went under.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That sucks. Because they did make some good games, but
Those are linear story progression, yeah.
yeah, they were using that formula of presenting the user with the illusion that they had the choice, but it still followed like the same linear narrative.
I don't know if it completely folded, but I do remember seeing something where they cut their company size down to almost like 1/8 of what it was. So I'd assume they're on hard times.
That's something I've always thought interesting about Nintendo, is that people in the Wii U days, before the Nintendo Switch, the juggernaut that is the Switch console came out, people were saying Nintendo better get their shit together or they're going to go under. And it's like, no, like
Nintendo's not about to go under.
they've made so much money that they could continue to take a loss like they were in the previous console for 50 years and still would not go under. They are a surprisingly lean operating company with the amount of revenue that they bring in. I think they only have like 5,000 employees.
I believe it.
It is insane how much money versus like what they're paying out that they have brought in they're a really old company too, but just since the 80s, since like the home console stuff that they were bringing out, they made so much money that's why they're taking chances with what they do. Sometimes it seems like they don't get shit, which they don't sometimes. Like
Sometimes things don't work out, or they miss the mark, or they don't understand.
But they've hit the mark.
They don't understand the dab.
They've hit the mark so many times with something new that people were like, oh yeah, this is like completely revolutionary to something, that they don't have to fucking worry.
No.
They're not operating at a deficit. They're a very profitable company.
And they keep their base formula pretty much the same. Playing with your friends.
Pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like one of the last companies that you can really
Play-
couch game.
Yeah, couch game with the pals.
All right. So we go into MacBook stuff next.
Yeah.
This is something I saw earlier today.
This is something that just grinds your gears every time with Apple.
Well, it's because they're contributing to like e-waste, basically. They're contributing to like anti-consumerism, where people can't take their broken device to somebody who knows how to fix it. That's a mom and pop shop, because there's a lot of people who learned how to just like do like small scale soldering and computer repair to repair like personal computer devices, and particularly Apple products, because they've put out so many products in the last decade and a half with just inherent flaws in them, just to cut corners on their manufacturing.
They want them to break, so you buy the next one.
Well, it's not necessarily that. It's that they're just not doing due diligence on their engineering in the first place before they put a product out in the wild. They do want you to buy the next one, but that comes more into designed obsolescence through the software updates that they're pushing. They're pushing out updates that will overwhelm older devices.
So you get a new one.
Yeah, so you get a new one. But this is something that is outright different than anything that they've done before. They've made it so if you go and get some sort of hardware component like resoldered into your board, you have to run some sort of proprietary diagnostic tool that is only being provided to authorized Apple
retail, whatever. At the Apple store, basically.
Well, they don't really do repairs there. They'll take it in, but there's like vendors that will do like your phone replacement. Like if you break your screen, you can take it to an approved vendor.
Yeah.
And they can replace your screen or replace whatever needs to get done. Unless a repair shop has gone through and become like an Apple approved repair center, they will not be given access to this diagnostic tool. And if they can't run this tool, then it's just straight up going to brick your system. Soft brick. There's absolutely no reason in the hardware that this device should not work. It's just one more thing that Apple is doing. Like, how greedy can you be? They're worth over $1 trillion. Like, how much more money do you need? Like, what's the end game here?
All the monies. Remember, you will remember, but that Apple commercial where the woman ran down the aisle and
yeah, in 1984, they were making a statement like that.
Now
threw the fucking sledgehammer into the screen. Yep.
Now they're the other company.
Honestly, it's just fucking corporate greed allowed to run amok. I believe there are inherent good things about capitalism, but there are certain levels that you get to where it's like you need some sort of control. What they're doing is not only like screwing over the consumer, it is encouraging people to throw away devices that are perfectly good, and that we can't continue to crank out the the latest and greatest and have them thrown away in like this few year cycle like we currently are.
Some people just don't care.
Well, most people don't care, you know? So, yeah, I kind of felt like I just talked to myself about that for a while.
I mean,
just,
I
rambled.
I agree with most of your sentiments, though. I don't think...
This is why I don't own Apple products. Like,
I've never been an Apple guy, but that was for other stuff. I just wasn't much of a fan. But I've talked about that before. I agree with your sentiments. I think it's wasteful. I think there's no reason that you shouldn't be repairing stuff until it's complete. You know, I don't think there's much of a reason not to be repairing stuff if you as a consumer still want that product.
And the means, like, you bought it. It's yours. They are outright going out of their way to circumvent, to stick it to you so you cannot do this when there is nothing physically stopping from you. This is the first time that I've actually seen it where it's like, this is a software brick for doing a repair to a device. For all intents and purposes, it should work. But it's like, oh, there's something new in here. You got to run this thing for a diagnostic.
And I don't like it. So now you don't get to use it at all.
Right?
Yeah, I don't like that. What do you think Elon Musk would say about it?
He would say, live long and prosper, humans. Is this what the humans enjoy? Then I shall enjoy it too. What our boy, Elon Musk, get himself into now?
So he's getting investigated by the SEC, which we were kind of aware of. But last week, I think it must have been Saturday, a little alert came up on my stepmother's phone that he'd been removed as chairman of Tesla. I think he's just the CEO now, but
It's because of like some shareholder uproar.
public relations.
Yeah, which, I don't really fucking agree with, He didn't even inhale, if you know what I mean.
But like I said, man, it's so easy to get one notch on your belt and then everyone's looking at you.
Well, yeah, especially if you're
people are-
fucking Elon Musk.
Yeah, and people are just like, people are going to sit there, they're going to nitpick you, and then it's just a real slippery slope real quick.
My dad always would quote this thing that was presented to George Lucas about somebody who had done a hit piece on him when the first Star Wars came out. And basically the movie it wasn't even out in theaters, basically, and this reporter did this just slam article about how it's a piece of shit. And then, it opens a couple weeks later and it's a fucking phenomenon. And Lucas was just like going back to this and he was like, man, that fucking like reporter like really got in my head. And even though like there was so many positive things like going around about the movie, it was like this one negative thing that really I focused in on. And he had this thing, he's like, you got to learn that there are creators and destroyers, and you just gotta learn to take it, especially if you're in this situation like fucking Musk is. I'm not trying to S Musk's D, but
It's like my dad said, he's like, I think it's a good vision.
yeah,
I think it's a noble pursuit. Now, I agree, it's a noble pursuit. I don't know the inner workings of it, and I don't know what the Securities Exchange Commission is going to turn up, or if this is going to end up being the Dale car incident that we talked about. I don't want it to be, but
the thing is, like with the Dale car, there was never a product out. It was just a concept for a long time. Like
and
Teslas
we've been in Teslas
on the street. Yeah,
both of us have been in a Tesla before. So I'm not saying that that's what this is. I'm just speculating that I don't know what's going to turn up the juicy bits on the inside, but he has a noble vision. I don't know if I can kind of agree that maybe you get to a point in your age and you shouldn't probably be using Twitter.
right. Your age is showing.
Yeah.
President. I don't know. I feel like
because it looks
the
like
platforms evolved with that, because a lot of younger people don't even use like Facebook, I feel like that's kind of been delegated to my generation, and even like you are part of my generation and you have signed off of that.
there's nothing in it. But I guess there's a stipulation that his Twitter account is going to have oversight too. So, but just the slippery slope. It happened real quick.
Fuck all that. I'm Elon Musk.
The slippery slope, though, it happened real quick. Like not even 2 weeks after, bam, he's not chairman anymore. Like you said, he didn't inhale.
That was another thing, though. Like a lot of people shit on him for stories of how employees are treated and stuff like that, and then they go and immediately shit on Musk for it, where it's like he's part of a company that has boards of directors it's not like he is the one setting the exact policy.
There's a lot of layers.
Everything.
There's a lot of layers in a corporate environment like that. And a lot of times...
But he gets it because he is the public face. Yeah. He's the one selling it.
A lot of times the people at the head are actually relatively disconnected from the lower workings of the body.
Right.
That's just how it is, though. On large-scale operations, I can't imagine Elon Musk has every single aspect of 3 companies under his eye. Mm-hmm. Did he sell PayPal?
Oh yeah, that's how he got into this.
But
like he made some sort of video game. He started PayPal off of the money of that, and just
he sold PayPal, right? Yep. He doesn't. Okay, so he has Tesla, SpaceX,
The Boring Company.
Okay.
And there's another one, I think.
Yeah. Do you think a guy that has all that
Solar City?
Do you think a guy that has all these companies has fucking every little thing underneath the microscope? I don't know. No,
you pay people to do that for you.
He goes, I have a grand vision for going outer space, having electric cars, solar powered cities. And you found companies and draw people in that agree with that noble vision or pursuit. In this case, I find those good pursuits and noble visions. And then you start employing people. There's no way he has oversight over individual employee.
Now,
like the guy not following OSHA regulations, fucking putting a goddamn solar panel together on somebody's roof. You think Elon Musk knows shit about that? That guy not being strapped upright? Or...
some guy to get to the rafters puts a solar panel over the forks on a forklift and goes up basketless.
Yeah. That's not something he is probably in the know of.
Now, what I wanted to ask you about is, did you hear about this whole publicity stunt of sending the first private citizen to go to the moon, basically?
Through the SpaceX program?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
like a Japanese
billionaire. Yeah.
Billionaire.
Yeah.
Now, I watched the little presentation about it, and it was kind of cringeworthy, but I can understand why they did it. They wanted to, kind of blow this guy for all the money that he's giving them because they need capital.
And I think
building rockets cost money.
How old? This guy's an older man, right?
No, he's not that old. Well, I don't know. Japanese don't crack, man.
I don't know how old he is, but I mean, I'd probably have a cringeworthy video if I was about to go in outer space.
Well, yeah, there was a presentation.
I'd be walking around in the MTV astronaut costume, just like, we're going to space.
But he had this whole thing about bringing artists to the moon, which I don't know if I like it or if I don't. It would be interesting to... He put out this little thing about wanting to bring artists from different categories of art to go along to the moon so they can be inspired by it. And I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to build PR and they're trying to get the public interested in space exploration. That's why we did the space race, and public interest petering out is why we haven't been back to the moon since. You just can't get people convinced to spend their tax dollars.
Let's say they don't take artists. Who would you take?
Scientists, maybe. People who I appreciate art, and I know a lot of artists, and I know artists enough to be some of them are very virtuous, but most of them,
okay, I'm not
exactly the best people.
I guess I'm curious about what artists they take. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and be like, yeah,
I'm sure there's going to be a vetting process.
I was going to say, I'm going to be like, yeah, I don't really think you should take Bono and the dude from Maroon 5 up to the moon. I'd rather see some scientists go up, but maybe, I think it would be interesting to see, take a architect, some sort of famous architect up to the moon. I think it would be cool to take artists to the moon. I get where you're saying we should just take scientists, but can't we do like a...
No, I'm not saying we should just take scientists. I'm just saying
Mix
I
the
don't
bag.
exactly know how I feel about this presentation. Like, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to get, like, public interest into it. And I feel like some artists might do some cool stuff and, like, use their influence to spread interest in it. But the way it was presented, it was just like, this is so fucking lame, and this is so not art. This is just some, like, rich guy...
Yeah,
like,
I'm trying
wanting to do
I'm trying to
this.
think of what artists would go to the moon What artist would go to the moon that I probably wouldn't
Send
want to see?
Shakira to the moon!
Yeah, that I probably wouldn't want to see. So it would probably be... What's the guy from
This is a
Maroon
good vet.
5?
I don't fucking know anybody.
Yeah, the
by
dude
the
from
name of-
Maroon 5, Bono, Banksy would probably go, and then he'd just draw like moons on everything.
MJ's skeleton.
Yeah.
They would fucking get a fucking casket that just says Moonwalker and then just shoot him into a crater.
They drill a hole and they just insert him into the moon. What other quote unquote artists would I never want to see go on a moon trip?
Jackson Pollock, because he was a drunk, and he'd either be withdrawing the entire time from alcohol, or he'd be trying to make a Jackson Pollock from his vomit.
What if they sent Bruce Willis and Johnny Depp because they're
Bruce
artists?
Willis.
They're artists. They're actors.
I guess. I feel like Bruce Willis is still in like the green.
Armageddon.
I still like Bruce Willis. Johnny
I do
Depp.
too. But I feel like he'd go Armageddon the whole time, just like we got to blow this asteroid up.
Johnny Depp has entered into the Nick Cage category where he spent so much fucking money that he's to keep making shitty movies. Whereas Bruce Willis can kind of do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I think Bruce would be good, but I feel like he'd be Armageddon the whole time.
Let's see, who else could we send up? Who else?
Yoko Ono.
Yeah, it's just like, she'd get back and it's like, I wrote a song about trip to moon. It's called...
You put Cardi B out. Put Cardi B on the moon.
She'd rename it the
I wish Steve-O was here. You could do their little bit. I can't recreate that. That's just too...
Stupid.
Oh, they'd have to send David Bowie to the moon. I'd love to see that.
David Bowie's ghost.
Yep.
Oh, Bowie, so far out there, man.
Yeah, put Bowie and MJ on the moon. That'd be cool. Yeah. I didn't watch the cringe video of the billionaire Japanese man, though.
Yeah, it was pretty cringy. Yeah, let's not do the politic guy. We don't need to talk about him.
Is this like Whip Snake?
Kind of. It's just like a little surreal, but yeah, let's not do that.
You don't want to get surreal?
We're about an hour in, so you want to take a break?
Yeah, we can take a break.
All right,
Then I'll watch it myself.
Be right back.
Ooh, got me right in the gut with that gut buster. Suggestion box. Funny times coming to you.
Yeah, now it's time to do some jokes. So you go first, I go first.
I'll go first.
All right.
Playing off of the NHL's Gritty.
My next one was gonna do.
Can we design a CCU mascot superhero?
Oh my god. He has to be like, does he have to be super too and like have the same failings?
Well, I see this route going two ways. Either he is the only successful member of the team and he doesn't really have probably wouldn't have any superpowers if he did, or he's the lovable doofus who mucks everything up.
You know where I'm seeing it going? Being he's a mascot, he's not on the team, but he has... They're semi-pro, right?
Sure.
So in order to get them, like in order to get the fans in, they have to have sponsors. So they will have a erectile dysfunction fake boner pill company give them a bunch of money if they name their mascot after them. So he'll be some sort of superhero, and his super ability is that he can get an erection whenever he needs to. But that's it. And he can skate.
He's great on the skates.
Do you imagine? It'd be some sort of either like a 40-year-old male or just like a dick with a black and blue eye. Something like that.
I was picturing a giant Canadian maple leaf, like towel-y almost, where it's terrible and it ruins everything for everyone. It gets them into more trouble than even the villains, or it's similar to what you were talking about, but it's basically just like a Mountie, a ripped guy in a Mountie hat.
How about this? Just a rubber ring. Just a rubber ring on skates. It's just like googly eyes on top of a big rubber ring, and it's just like a big mouth that's open, but it's just a skating cock ring.
I thought you were gonna say it was a skating condom, and then when it goes through
these are for
like
dudes.
A windsock.
He's playing to people who are trying to get pregnant but can't. There was actually something that I had seen earlier this week. I don't know how. Oh, it was on the WAN show. There was some sort of incident where there used to be this company called NCIS, and they were like a Newegg, they'd sell your gear for computers.
Didn't Newegg just have some fiasco?
I don't know, but this company NCIS went under, and one of the people who do this WAN show from Linus Tech Tips used to work there. They had this thing where they just went under suddenly, and somebody basically like bought their old servers at an auction, and somebody ended up like buying the servers off somebody on Craigslist for like $15,000, and they were able to mine the data for literally everybody who had ever made a transaction with this. So they were talking about this, and just to put an APB out there, by the way, if you've ever bought something from NCIX, you might want to clean your shit up. You might want to change some passwords and cancel your credit cards there. But for the once the police in the area had gotten wind of it, they were like putting out a message online saying, we're looking into this investigation. Like, this is a criminal case now. But they brought up on the show a picture of this like little place's police force. They are literally just a team of Mounties. They're all dressed up in Mountie gear.
Oh, God.
In a semicircle, and they all have hockey sticks down on the ground. Yeah, that's all it said on there. Is Richmond Ramped Twitter was the name of it. I wouldn't waste too much time like trying to look it up, but
did I get that right? Oops.
RCMP, yeah, that's it.
Their Twitter picture was that?
Just go to their Twitter page. And then it's, yep,
hey,
there it is.
There's the boys.
I wasn't lying, was I?
Love it. I love it.
Yep, they could be, we should set our little narrative in this town. Little town of Richmond. Oh, and then there could be like the Canadian virgin birth. Oh, little town of Richmond.
Wow, interesting stuff.
All right.
Mountie pants.
Yeah, I know. What the fuck is up with that? It's like imperial...
like 1800s military poof.
It's like some shit I'd expect Teddy Roosevelt to wear. It's like some shit you'd see Imperial
those went
admirals.
out of style. That shit went out of style with the Nazis. Knock that off.
How dare you? How dare you insult our northern brothers?
Well, you know those Hugo Boss made all the Nazi uniforms, and they had those poof pants.
Yeah, I didn't know that's where that came from. The poof pants.
Well,
Just
it's not where it
poof at
came
the
from, but that was
thighs.
like they had it going on too.
It's an older code, sir, but it checks out.
So I had just a generic thing. I didn't have anything written for it. We'll kind of have to shoot from the hip. It's called Scooby-Doo scenarios. So I had
I actually had another one too.
I had one thing to deal with that one.
No.
Okay.
I have another read.
Okay, good. Scooby-Doo scenarios. So I was thinking, you have Fred, Velma, Scooby-Doo. Who's the other
Shaggy.
one? Shaggy.
Fred, Velma, Daphne.
Daphne, that's the one. So Fred is pulling the mask off of the Flyers, the new Flyers mascots. Who would be underneath?
Well, I liked the Conan take where it was literally a weird, fleshy version of Gritty. But if it was, who would be underneath?
Be Bill Burr. And he was like, you motherfucks! And I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
I'd say it's the Flyer that just retired.
You got to look it up. You got to shoot from the hip, man. We need another Scooby-Doo scenario. Be some sort of hotel that Gordon Ramsay is trying to go to.
Scott Hartnell.
They'd be going to a haunted motel, and it would be just dilapidated and shit, and the owner's just like, oh, there's ghosts and stuff here. And then they'd have one of those celebrity guest things that they used to have back in the day, and they'd run into it. It's like, Gordon Ramsay, what are you doing here? It's like, I'm filming a show here too.
I'd say it's this guy, Scott Hartnell. He just retired. He just couldn't give up the team. He just couldn't give up. He had to still be on the team. I mean, look at it. It kind of...
Oh, that night's watch has ended.
Who else
man,
would be
he
under
knows
there?
nothing, Jon Snow.
Who would be under there? The dude from Mastodon. What's that guy's name?
I don't know.
Brett. Is it Brett?
I'm not a big Mastodon fan. Like, I really did give them a fair shake. I put out an APB to the denizens of my Facebook.
Brent Hins. That's the dude's name.
Put a APB out to the denizens of my Facebook feed, and I was like, I've never gotten into Mastodon. Start me someplace that if somebody is trying to get into Mastodon, they should start. I did that after they came out with what's it called? The High Road, the one with all the Larbers. I love that song, but that's about it, honestly.
Yeah, they probably started you on what, like Crack the Sky?
I mean, I started with
Or
Mastodon
Leviathan.
pretty early. First I heard of them was like the first.
No, I'm saying like what albums are recommended to you? Like,
I don't fucking know. This is years ago. I don't like them, so I didn't really like take out the mental real estate to really like open that up. I like listened to it and I was like, still not into them.
I enjoyed a couple of their albums. Oh, you know who'd be really good to be under Gritty? Who's that redheaded kid who got the ketchup ice cream?
Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, they unmasked Gritty and he's under there.
They found a monster under the rafters when they were doing the renovations, and Ed Sheeran has been plotting this entire time to open up a market for ketchup ice cream. And he's trying to sell them at the Flyers games.
They unmasked Gritty. He's got like a ketchup on the side of his mouth or whatever.
And they're like, what is this, blood? It's like, no, it's ketchup. They just wipe away. It's like, Ed Sheeran. They pull the mask off. It's just a bloody mess. It's ketchup. They wipe it away again.
It's Ed Sheeran. Yeah.
Man, I just never got his appeal. People are like, oh, he does looping and stuff like that. But it's just like, it's so simple. It's just, of course, you can loop that shit and play it with yourself. It's just easy.
Play with yourself.
There's one of the engineers for the Beatles died this week. You know, God rest his soul. And I was going through some of like the threads of it. And it was basically just like a Beatle beat off circle jerk.
I know you said you don't like Mastodon. I enjoyed my time with them. I don't enjoy Ed Sheeran, but I don't really enjoy the Beatles that much.
I do not either. I do not get the false nostalgia amongst our peers where like I'm almost 30 and there are people that I know who are just like trying to talk about the Beatles like they are some sort of 70-year-old and they remember them from like the day.
When they toured on the British invasion.
And you will get people who probably have never picked up an instrument in their life online trying to just defend how influential the Beatles were. And they were very influential, but it's built on the brick and mortar of very simple pop formatted songs. They weren't exactly progressing anything. They were taking Boy Meets Girl, Fall in Love, and just selling it to the masses. And one of the things that I thought was kind of like, well, no shit, was people were like, it's hard for me to believe that they were broken up by the time they were 30. It's like,
how old do you think they were when they started?
They started in their 20s.
Yeah.
But, that the music wasn't really that hard. It's not really that hard to believe, to be honest.
Surprised.
But then you get people who are just like, try to explain that on an online forum, and then you just have 80 people who are just like, I'm going to try to explain the Beatles to this person like he hasn't heard this 80 times before.
Because it's been on the radio nonstop. There's literally radio stations that play nothing but the Beatles.
Yeah, there's like XM stations that are just the Beatles
there's
station.
Some people on my work that just listen to that, and I'm like, I mean, I get it, man. You like that taste and that take, but every day, it's same 10 songs.
It's like Dave Matthews fans,
loop.
man. The manic depressive Dave Matthews fan marathoner.
I mean, I like metal, but I'm listening to a different album every day or something.
I like metal, but I don't just like metal. I like a lot of stuff, and that's one of the things that people are like, well, if you don't like that, what do you listen to? And it's just like, I'm trying to find just the next thing that strikes my fancy that I don't know about. I'm just waiting for that next thing to just be like, oh, I like this just because of the sound that it's putting into my ears. And that's the only judgment that I'm making on it.
We do jazz and classical and stuff, but it's like, it's hard for me to fathom just sitting and listening to the Beatles for the next 20. Well, the Beatles were 75, 70s.
They were, I want to say maybe late 50s, definitely 60s into the 70s. But
I'm not going to listen to.
I'm not going to listen to Hey Jude that many times.
Okay, it started in 1960. Gotcha.
I heard a really interesting hot take on
I'm not going to listen to, 60, 70, 80, 90, 2000. I'm not going to listen to the Beatles for 40 years.
Yeah, even if you were born in that era, right?
That's mental. That's mental.
I think it was Hard Times had a hot take on it. It was headline said, unhinged Paul McCartney in 8th hour of Hey Jude sing-along. But yeah, that sucks about the engineer. Like, I can appreciate the engineering of the time because they were working with like limited track recorders. They didn't have like the unlimited amount of tracks that we could put into recordings nowadays.
Yeah.
You had to get creative with how to record things simultaneously to get them on the same track and to, make it congruent. So there was some like feats of engineering in that regard.
I mean, the Beatles themselves were a pretty big feat. I mean, not that at this point in time it's anything it was groundbreaking at the time. The formula was there for the perfect storm, the commercialization, the marketing, all that stuff. They had the perfect storm.
That is the thing that I want people to those super fans to understand about the Beatles, that it wasn't just them being good. It was people as a conglomerate saying, this is who we're going to sell, and this is who we're going to make into this icon. You don't get that famous without the music machine behind you.
And there are a few Beatles songs I like, but I'm not going to sit, like I said, for 40 years and listen to the same Beatles songs. I'd rather listen to the agonizing screams of people being tortured in a dungeon.
I'd rather listen to Owen Wilson say fucking wow 40 times. Speaking of him, I got into this new YouTube show because like everybody's kind of like trying to do their own like YouTube thing. You remember Kevin Nealon, right? From SNL?
Refresh.
You remember Hans and Franz? Dana Carvey was Hans. Kevin Nealon was Franz. You know, the we're here to pump you up. He was the guy who was not Dana Carvey. Kevin Nealon used to do Weekend Update.
Oh, this guy.
Yep.
He's also in a lot of the Happy Madison movies.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
and he's in Weeds, I think, too. Yeah, I know this guy. He's funny.
He seems like a genuine dude, but he has this YouTube series called Hiking with Kevin, and he does like an interview format, but he just does it with a cell phone on a selfie stick, and they go hiking on trails. So he had Owen Wilson on it, and I was just thinking to myself, we love to just go wow, 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 and he's like self-conscious about it. We've talked about this in the past, and about how he should just embrace it, and he said it several times on the thing. But I was just like trying to listen to him.
Wow, there's this.
Now think about how he sounds. What the fuck is that accent? I can't put my finger on. It's like a combination of...
The most bizarre part about it is his brother, whatever the accent is, his brother doesn't have it as strong as him. It's still similar, but the mannerisms are different. Do you want me to look up where he's from?
I think he did talk about where he was from in there, but honestly, like...
He's got like this southern...
What if he has a southern, midwestern... He's
got this southern Cali like surfer vibe thing going on.
It's not just southern Cali though. It's like if he was gonna say skull, like he was from California. Californians, Punk Rock Paul taught me this. He said when he moved from California, one of the ways he would express how we talk different here is the word skull. Here we say skull, and in California they say skull. And I feel like if...
All right, you want to place a guess on where Owen Wilson's from here?
No. Where's he from?
I don't buy it. Dallas, Texas.
But that makes sense because like I'm kind of leaning like he's this compressed pellet of a bunch of accents. Like
it
the
just
way
says he was born there. They might have moved around a little bit, but it looks like New Mexico and Austin, Texas universities. So I assume he's been in the South most of his life.
He doesn't have a southwestern drawl or anything like that. But he, even the way he says wow, it's wow. It's nasally. It's Midwestern,
Yeah. Wow. So how was the hike? Did he talk about...
Oh, it was great. It was wholesome. Like most of the fucking
Did
hikes.
Kevin Nealon tell him to embrace the wow?
No, they didn't even bring it up. But honestly, like that show is like wholesome because Kevin Nealon seems like just an angel. And when they even just say the fuck word in an interview, he puts in the title in parentheses R-rated. It's like, aw, Kevin, you're such a sweetheart. Yeah, the last one I watched was with Rob Lowe. And he was talking about how he can see his like audience aging because somebody was like, "Oh, can we get a selfie with you and this person? Let me grab my oxygen tank, wheel it up here."
Oh, Rob Lowe. I watched that show that he was on briefly, The Grinder. He plays
He was on Parks and Rec recently.
Yeah, he played. It was a very short-lived show where he was his character played a lawyer on TV, and then he moved in with his brother, who was a real-life lawyer, and everyone was like a fan of his show. And then he tried to become a real lawyer. And, yeah, it was not good.
Sounds like fucking Matt LeBlanc being on some sort of English show
But it was
about him being like Matt LeBlanc on a TV show.
Yeah, I tried to watch that. That show sucked too. But you know, it's Rob Lowe being Rob Lowe. He doesn't really change his persona that much.
Yeah. So, what's your last read?
Dead fight.
Okay. We got to go through the brackets now. Now that the baseball season's wrapping
I'm a little
up.
curious if I've done these two before. Fix It Dad
I don't think so.
versus Car Dad.
I mean, they have some overlap. They really
I
do.
feel like Fix It Dad's a MacGyver and Car Dad thinks he's fucking Knight Rider.
I feel
So
like
it would almost boil down to oh wow, I can't believe I just blanked on MacGyver versus Knight Rider.
I feel like Fix It Dad is going to be building Fortnite structures around himself. And then Car Dad is
Battery's red green in it.
You know, if I just put a little gray in here, I could pull off some red green.
I used to
Go
watch
as
the
red
shit out
green
of that show.
for Halloween. So, Car Dad versus Fix It Dad. What? Like, are you talking about like Home Improvement Dad? You talking like Tim Allen versus Hasselhoff?
No, I was thinking more like it's kind of it's kind of constantly changing. Now I'm thinking like a red green MacGyver, guys duct tape and making all kinds of weird contraptions like mini catapults, like
But they're shit.
pencil launching.
They're shitty.
Pencil launching crossbows or something, and then Car Dad could be anything from driving a Mustang to driving a Mad Max car with fucking a cow plow on the hood.
You know, I feel like Fix It Dad would win because he's got the tape. He's got the glue. He's got the thumbtacks. That's all you need to pop some fucking tires.
He's going the same route as Grill Dad. Just blow the tires out and watch him die.
Well, I don't think he'd die. He'd have to. Car Dad would have to get out of the car, and he'd be like, "Oh, we gotta swap insurance information now."
You wrecked my antique Monte Carlo or whatever.
This is such dumb cars. Like the Monte Carlos, the Thunderbirds, those old cars. Like, even if it's a nice
El Camino.
80s car, you get in it and it's like, this is kind of a piece of garbage.
Oh,
Like, I had a girlfriend she had an old Supra and she really wanted a Supra and she got one. It was like a fucking old one. And it was like, oh yeah, this is nice.
it's a blown up Hot Wheel.
Yeah, pretty much. It was like some square car from RoboCop.
A guy at my work had one of those that he refurbished. It's kind of slick. Never sat in it though.
I never really liked the late 80s, early 90s cars.
Kind of
Too
cars?
square.
Kind of cars for you?
I like the like if we're talking Mustangs, which is a shit car, really is. You know what I'm talking about, like the 90s Mustang. What the fuck was that? It might as well be a Nissan. You know, it looks so square. Whereas the 60s era Mustang with like the curves, and it had that like really nice grille, had the circular headlights with like the fastback on it, and even the later 2000 Mustangs, you know, after the one that I had, that body style, the body style that came out of that was kind of like a throwback to the 60s. Now I feel like they're going back to boxy with this 2019 Bronco that's coming out.
I haven't seen that.
Woo! It is ugly, motherfucker. God damn. That is an ugly looking truck. Look at this thing. Whew. It is just squared off.
You got the white one too. What is this, fucking OJ?
Right.
This thing looks like an urban assault vehicle out of Demolition Man. I hate it.
I absolutely hate it too.
I like Audi.
I feel like that shit's going to be in the next RoboCop movie if they come out with
real.
one.
I hate this. I hate big grills like this too, where it's just like Bronco, Ford. Oops.
So here's a scenario. The water breaks. You're going to the
Hospital.
Yeah,
because
the
your water
hospital.
broke.
And it's time to deliver the baby. You know, and there's like people say that there's signs of like having heartburn and stuff like that your baby's gonna like be born with hair, some shit like that. I don't know if you've
I've
ever
never heard
that.
of this. I've never heard of this. This sounds just absolutely bizarre.
Yeah, there's like some stuff that people say, your baby's gonna be born with hair if you have these symptoms or whatever. So I was just like thinking, what would be the symptoms or the superstitions going around if you know, just imagine you being the father. You watch the delivery. Your baby is born with a full set of clothes on.
Oh man.
Like not just a onesie. It has like tennis shoes,
Yeah.
overalls, some Oshkosh
What would
by
be the
gosh.
symptoms? I feel like my eyebrows would fall off.
You mean you as the father?
Yeah.
Having to witness this shit?
Your eyebrows fell off. He's gonna be born with a full set of clothes.
Like, how could you not see this on the ultrasound? Come on. It's like, yeah, you go in for the ultrasound, and it's like, here are the like little straps for the overalls. and as the cheapskate father, you'd be like, oh, do the clothes grow with them?
Yeah.
How long till I have to buy new clothes?
What would be the sign going to the hospital? One of my testicles bursts.
It's not to you. The mother is the one with the thing in the body. What
She gets
symptom-
heartburn?
Yeah.
Okay. Her
like-
eyebrows fall off. That's a good one still. Her testicle can't burst. A boob deflates. Yeah, like a balloon. Getting the valve squeezed tight so it'd be like a high pitched squeal.
Yeah, you'd go to the fucking the doctor and just be like, oh, one of my tits like deflated, and it was like, oh, your
Baby's gonna have clothes.
baby's gonna be fully closed. You're gonna fucking miss out in a couple months. Yeah, you're gonna save some money. The pregnancy's gonna be rough though. The delivery might be a little rough.
Gonna be destroyed down there.
I've heard that's that can be a psychological thing if you watch the birth. Just seeing that done to the zone, that it can leave you a little. Ugh.
It become the Badlands in your own mind.
Yeah.
What would happen? I lose a tooth. Your tooth gets wiggly and it falls out.
Your teeth just start falling out. I was like, oh, she's losing her teeth. Baby's gonna be born with a set of clothes.
Excessive earwax buildup.
You know,
hair falls off of their head. I like the boob deflating, I think, the best. Just the high pitch, just like a... I can't even do it. I can't recreate that.
You start getting just a little bit crusty on the under boob, like where the skin on skin is.
What if it's something
it's
so
like-
subtle you almost don't even catch it?
Right. You start secreting an oil, and every time you get up, it's just a little oily spot left back.
Like a fucking... like a grease stain on the bottom of a pizza box.
You'd start repurposing, like there would be a product out there for the people who could afford it, but then you just have to like start
You leave a
repurposing.
grease stain like a Pizza Hut breadstick.
You'd start when you order the pizza, you'd start repurposing the pizza table to like not have your butt touch your underwear and have it sop through.
Oh. But you'd be greased up like a Randy from Trailer Park Boys, Crisco'd up.
Danny DeVito'd up. All right, I am reaching. Let's take a break and then let's talk about some music.
Music.
I guess you're going to point it up to me. Like this week, we decided to just talk about both the love and the hate for Metallica.
Yeah.
You love them, you hate them. Like they are so easy to love and so easy to hate.
It's definitely both sides of the blade there. I texted Doug about doing Injustice for All.
Are you just going to focus on one album?
Well, I think that is
I
kind of
thought we were just going to talk about Metallica. in
We
general.
will, but I did text you about that album because
I
hadn't
love that
spent
album.
I hadn't spent a ton of time with it, and I guess they just released a remastered version of it I wasn't even aware of.
I'm afraid to touch that one because that is one of the albums that I am attached to. That is like your McDonald's that you had your first McFlurry in being knocked down, if that is true. Because Injustice for All was one of two albums that were my first metal albums.
I think after
Can you
listening
guess
to it,
what the other one was? Because I got these both on the same day from a Fleet Farm in Menominee Falls back when they were still selling CDs.
was it Mudvayne?
Oh, you're so close,
Limp
dude.
Bizkit?
Yep.
Ah,
Which one?
the one with Break 'em or whatever, the one with the
Break stuff? Yes,
Yeah, the dude-
that is the
yeah.
one. That is so... you got it in two, dude. I am impressed. So, I got that album, and I got Injustice for All.
Days.
Like, I had already had some friends who were kind of like into the whole Limp Bizkit craze, and I was just getting drug along with it, and that's what got me into
Isn't that how
new
it
metal.
happens?
But this was like my first album, like actually owning it. I mean, I had a burn CD of Chocolate Starfish and Hot Dog Flavored Water.
That CD was in my house, thanks to somebody.
Some underground Samaritan sneaking it in past your parents.
I think they got a block. There used to be this place called Blockbuster, and you could buy CDs there too.
Really?
I think we got
I didn't know that.
chocolate covered there. There were 3 Limp Bizkit CDs in my house for the longest time.
Yeah, there was the first one. I forget what it was called.
Break stuff was on there.
No, the first one was the one with the Faith cover on it.
I can't believe I'm doing
Penny,
this. I'm gonna look it up.
$3 bill, y'all. That's what it was called. First album, $3 bill, y'all. Second album, Significant Other. Third album, Chocolate Starfish, Hot Dog Flavored Water. It was the turn of the century. Don't fucking judge us, you zealots. Listen, like, we were teenagers And what kind of
I
shit
didn't
were you
buy it.
listening to?
I didn't buy it. I didn't have a choice.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the viewers.
Yeah.
Just silently that we can't talk back to.
Okay, yeah, we had. Oh crap! There were 4. There were 4 Limp Bizkit CDs.
But
Significant Other.
I got Injustice for All as part of my first 2 metal CDs that I ever actually like owned. They were my very own, and I hated it at first. This album like had to grow on me. Like I did not get it at first. But it was one of the only CDs I had, so I had to listen to it. And it really like grew on me. Like Injustice for All is not like a you pick this up as your first album and then you like it kind of album, you know?
My first metal album, that has me thinking about that. My first metal album was actually cassette. White Zombie, Astro Creep.
Oh, that is such a great album.
That's all I had for like ever. I just had that used, banged up cassette. I didn't even get Metallica stuff because my brother said Metallica sucks. I asked for
what an idiot!
I asked for the Metallica album Black, I think, when it came out. The album's just called Metallica, but everyone refers to it as the Black album. My brother was just like, you don't want that. Metallica sucks. I was like,
I mean, he's kind of right.
I asked for it though. I mean, yeah, he was kind of right, but I never had a Metallica album.
But then again, your brother isn't exactly the first person who would go.
Well, he brought the Limp Bizkit CDs into the house, so what the fuck does he know? I had Green Day's Kerplunk, the green and white one.
What the fuck was with that? Like, I had a few other friends who had like Green Day CDs.
And Dookie.
My first CD ever was Smash Mouth Fush You Mang. That's the not Astro Lounge.
Cassette.
No, it was a CD
cassettes.
for me.
Yeah.
I had that was the one with Walking on the Sun on it. And
no, yeah, I did. That was Smash Mouth. Yeah, we had that.
That was back when they still had a lot of ska band elements to it. It was like punk rock ska, kind of poppy, but they still said the fuck word. And I remember getting that CD along with like a little boombox that played CDs as my first CD player because I had asked for those, and my parents were, they just kind of give it to me. They didn't really know
the CD.
Yeah. So first song off it was like it was called Flow, and
yeah, it was a good, cool album though.
Yeah, and they said the fuck word, and I was like, what?
Anyway, though, Kill 'Em All. So I hadn't really got to do the Metallica thing, and I was never really...
When was this? Like, this is recent?
The Metallica thing?
Yeah.
Well, last year and a couple years before that, I did...
I mean, talking about Kill 'Em All specifically, like...
This year was the first time I've sat and listened to all of Kill 'Em All. Now, I have heard songs off of there.
The original one, not the remaster?
Yeah.
Or whatever. Okay.
I've heard songs off Kill 'Em All. Like One and some other songs are mainstay radio play.
Oh, yeah. One is now. But the interesting thing is, like, back when that came out, people forget this. And it's easy to forget because they've become such, like, the metal juggernaut that they are. They were like a garage band underground act getting no radio play. Same story as Kiss that people forget too, is that Kiss was so beloved because they had this... Oh, it's just the freezer.
I was like, your cat's making a weird noise.
They were so beloved because they had to fight tooth and nail to like get fans through live shows, and they played live shows relentlessly, and they pretty much had like a loyal legion of fans before they even got to the point where MTV or the radio would even touch them. They didn't need that. They were already playing arenas,
Yep. So the Kill 'Em All stuff, I finally sat down and listened to all of it this last week because I had taken a long break because I had
very raw, very young.
I had done... Wait, Kill 'Em All. That's a different album. That's I was talking Injustice for All.
Follow through.
Injustice for All. I had finally done Injustice for All. I had done Kill 'Em All. That was like 2-3 years ago. I did Kill 'Em All,
It's nice.
Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets.
They got the.
and then I stopped.
They got their. That's good. That's a good place
And
to
then
stop.
Injustice for All, I just did this week. I misspoke there. I love Kill 'Em All. That has the Dave Mustaine element to it that I love so much because he was
off the album by that time.
but you could still feel his presence in somehow
writing.
the song and writing goes. And I love Megadeth because out of the Four Horsemen, you got Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax, and Metallica. And I love Megadeth and I love Slayer.
Interesting factoid about Dave Mustaine and the recording of Kill 'Em All. They were like going in to record Kill 'Em All, basically, and they decided to get rid of Dave Mustaine. And Dave Mustaine was like, basically, okay, well, you're kicking me out, no second chance or anything to like explain myself. Not only did they do that, they were like waking him up with this news and giving him a Greyhound bus ticket, basically saying, you have to wake up, pack your shit, and be at the bus station in 45 minutes and not miss this like ride home. But
Well,
apparently he was kind of like a junkie and he was a real loose cannon.
real mess. But
at the time.
man, that album is great. Kill 'Em All is great. I love a lot of the stuff on there, and even he takes some of the riff structure on there and puts it on. I think he redoes one of them into 502 on his first Megadeth release.
I think Hammett, when he joined right after that, because he was the replacement for Mustaine. I think he was coming from Exodus.
Yeah.
Which I did not know.
Exodus is a cool band.
today.
Gary Holt's been holding it down for them for a long time, and he just pulled double duty with the whole Slayer thing. And he used to jam with Kirk Whammett. I like Gary Holt. I like Gary Holt just because he kind of coasts along, and I like a lot of the stuff he's done with Exodus. They're definitely not to the rocket-propelled levels of the other major four.
So going through their albums, to take Kirk Whammett's fucking quote from their Saint Anger DVD that I used to watch because I was still like clinging on to, Metallica in that age. Like Saint Anger is where I signed off basically after that album.
I haven't even got to that album.
He had something where he was trying to explain the production values and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, you got to look past like, the sound and the album. It's about the content, It's just like some bullshit that some like artist who is just jaded trying to explain their shit says. It's like, you got to look at the content. Like our old albums, yeah, people might like love them or whatever, but they sound like you're recording a tin can. And it was like people are so attached to it. They don't necessarily like it for that. They just become attached to it at that period. Like one of my things with that was Lamb of God, As the Palaces Burn. Not the best production value, but I love that sound aesthetic because I grew attached to it because it was like
I know what you mean.
Great album.
Goroth, remember that? I showed you.
Once they became overproduced, it was like the life had been sucked out of them.
Yeah, remember I showed you Goroth, Under the Sign of Hell? They did the original version, which the drums sound like they're recorded in another room. Like they tried to record all together, but the drummer was in a whole other room, and then they remastered it, and now the audio quality's up there, but people are just like, why would you do this? Why would you touch that?
So Kill 'Em All kind of sounded like if you played guitar and held your nose the entire time.
I think, though, as an album, I thought, production-wise, I thought it was pretty good compared to Kill 'Em All or Injustice for All? I'm getting confused here. Yeah,
we're going to get to Kill 'Em All.
Kill 'Em All is... Yeah, never mind. You can continue. I thought we were talking Injustice for All.
So they already had like a legion of fans before they even recorded Kill 'Em All. They had already kicked Dave Mustaine out before they recorded Kill 'Em All.
Yeah.
They didn't really find commercial success until Ride the Lightning, which was put out on Elektra Records. I'm not even sure if they exist anymore. I don't know. But
Doesn't matter.
that album sold 1 million copies.
Ride the Lightning.
Ride the Lightning.
That's because that's probably one of my favorite Metallica albums. That album is pretty amazing.
I listened to it secondary. There's some like good songs on it. Like Battery is on it. I love that song. And I feel like this was still in the era of they still cared about what they were writing because it wasn't like an afterthought. I feel like later Metallica now is vastly different from earlier Metallica because they were like young and they were like just pouring over these riffs and that's like all they were doing. And now they've become like these commercial successes and you can hear, like, I tried listening to Death Magnetic.
I haven't gotten that far. I can't even get past Fuel.
Dude, Fuel, I still get fucking amped when
That
fucking
one individual
No, it's
song.
Load and Reload. There's some good, like, when I listen to those songs, it's so vastly different from earlier Metallica, but it's still good. It's just different. They became like this kind of like blues
Let's keep
rock
going
thing.
through the albums because I feel like... Okay, but well...
We're getting a little disjointed here.
Yeah, I feel like we're a little all over
Ride the
place.
Lightning was one of their first like big commercial successes, and then they had Tragedy Strike where Cliff Burton died. I think it was in Sweden. They had a bus flip over, and there's a story about Kirk Hammett and Cliff Burton drawing cards
for who gets the bunk.
Yeah, who gets the good bunk. Cliff Burton draws the ace, and it's like, I want to sleep in
Ace of Spades, supposedly.
It's like, I want to sleep in your bunk, and Whammit's just like, okay, just keep calling him Whammit. And they just like woke up to like the bus being like flipped over. Hetfield got like a pot of coffee dumped on him, and it was described as they could all hear each other like screaming in pain, basically, but except Cliff. I think he got thrown from the bus.
Yeah, outside of the bus, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, basically DOA.
Yep.
And
Very unfortunate. He was a very skilled bassist.
Yeah. I remember living with Nick, that he was really into Cliff. What was the bass solo that...
I know it's on Ride the Lightning. I wouldn't be able to tell you, but I know that...
He used to just know that by heart, and he would just play it. That's one of the things that like got me involved in this. Nick sent me a video of him playing that song, and I was like, oh, this dude's fucking rad, man. Yeah. But then they just like auditioned a bunch of bass players. I think they said they auditioned like something like 40 bass players, and they were basically in a stupor of drunkenness because they were still like getting over Cliff Burton dying. They basically like canceled the rest of their European tour, went home, buried Cliff Burton, started going through auditions, like auditioned like 40 different bass players, and then brought in Jason
Newsted.
Jason Newsted. Me and some older bandmates used to have this thing where we'd say, Jason Newsted, he's my favorite man.
Yeah.
But they brought him on before not Ride the Lightning, Injustice for All.
Yeah, he did. He was
Oops.
on Master of Puppets, right?
No, that was Cliff still.
Yep.
Pretty sure.
Yep. Yeah, so he came on for Injustice for All, which is the album that we really should be focusing on for the most part. Because that's the one I spent the most time
You
with.
said
this week.
Metallica, though. You just said Metallica. You didn't say...
I said Metallica and Justice for All. I'd never really listened to it. But we can continue talking about Metallica. I liked all the stuff up to this album that I had heard so far.
I like the Black Album, too.
We'll get there. I liked Kill 'Em All. I liked Ride the Lightning. I liked Ride the Lightning a lot. Master of Puppets, it was good.
Master of Puppets is my favorite.
It was good. And then I got to Injustice for All. As looking back on it, this is a great album, I think, as like an entry point. I think Metallica is just a really great entry point for a lot of metal. Do you feel?
Yes, I do, but it depends on where your entry point for Metallica is, because you could either turn somebody into like some sort of like Disturbed nut after that, or you could gain some like true appreciation for Roots. That's the thing. They have their Roots, which extends through like a good third of their career, which is just the meaty. They are legends in that category. But then they have their commercialism like era, which is not so good for
I think Injustice
developing
for All,
taste.
I think for me, Injustice for All strikes right in the middle almost of that for me, where it kind of falls naturally in their release dates. Now, I could give this album to somebody and I feel like they could swing almost either way. Now, obviously, the album after this, the Black Album, you can heavily feel a commercial overtone.
And there's a reason why.
Over it.
Bob Rock. He was a recording engineer and producer who had done bands like The Cult, Bon Jovi, a bunch of 80s acts, which Metallica was in direct contrast to. Like, that was one of their things where it's like, oh, they didn't necessarily say fuck MTV. They said fuck MTV because they're not giving us any play. But then that kind of changed
when they started getting some momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like, Metallica doesn't feature really yelling vocals on this album. It's more just like aggressively spoken, which I thought was really good. And the way the album is, it's structured in a way that everything you can clearly pick up on between bass, guitar, and drums. Nothing's drowning each other out, which I enjoyed quite a bit. So my standout track, though, on this, I mean, everyone's heard one, was actually Dryer's Eve for me.
I can't remember what that one sounds like.
It's the very last track. And having sat through what actually struck me was the drumming, because Lars is regularly regarded as, how should I say this, like lazy almost.
Yeah, or just not very good, very Ringo. And
like, he actually does some interesting stuff on the drums here, and my immediate thought was, this isn't Lars drumming, this is somebody else.
I don't know. I never really got that fucking feeling from it.
But it's probably my favorite song on the album. It's also the closer. I mean, Harvester of Sorrow and Shortest Straw are pretty good on this album, but Dryer's Eve went directly back to the hardline thrash feel that they had on their previous releases, like Ride the Lightning, to me.
What I really liked, and like, I grew to love this entire album from front to back, but when I was young, and this was my first real metal CD, the one that I got attached to was the one right before Dyer's Eve. I think it's
Dyer's Eve?
Yep. Was To Live Is To Die, the instrumental. It starts with the acoustic.
Yep.
And then the dun 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 dun. I just became addicted to that. I was like, wow, this is fucking cool. And then it has this, like, it's like a 9-minute, 10-minute song.
Yeah, that was something that was shocking about this album, was I think the average length of a song on here is almost
the
7
shortest,
to 8 minutes.
The shortest song is 5 minutes and 46 seconds. No,
5:13.
5:13, yeah.
Dyer's is the shortest. But yeah, their average runtime is almost 6-7 minutes, which is vastly different from most thrash acts of the time. I'm actually not that familiar with their previous album song runtimes, but I don't imagine they're that long.
Now, after a while, I learned to appreciate just like the structure of this album. I think this is
it's very good
yes,
structure.
Absolutely. The way it opens up is just this dueling guitar, very light pad that opens up, and it's just harmonized guitars with a very strong chord progression behind it. Something that they couldn't do live because they only had 2 guitar players. They would need 2 guitar players to harmonize, and then at least 2 to get the full sound of the chord progression. But this is something that I feel like they lost in their later days, is immediately they have these really cool, complicated burner riffs.
Yeah,
there are some real burners on this fucking album.
Yeah, there are, but there's also extremely mellow, and they're not exactly clean, but
let me talk
almost
about
acoustic points.
Let me talk about that a little bit more, though. Like, one of the things that their new albums that they try to go back to their roots with, like, sound aesthetics that they just don't have, are these, like, riffs. If you wanted to sit down and learn them, you would really have to dedicate a few hours to, like, learning one little part about it because it's very intricate. And there was much more care and youngness and love put into these bits of music. There's a lot of effort packed into very small parts of music that I always appreciate. Where later days, it feels like they phoned it in.
It's a hard rock group, not a heavy metal group.
Well, maybe on Load and Reload, but I feel like Death Magnetic and what was the last one that they put out?
I want to say Hardwired to Self-Destruct.
Yes, that's the one.
I haven't listened to either of those yet.
You can hear them trying to be what they used to be, and it's just not there. Like, they didn't sit down and put a bunch of time into making these very dense small parts that would be challenging for somebody to sit down and learn in less than a couple minutes. So yeah, I loved Blackened and Justice for All, the title track. Harvester of Sorrow.
It's a good one.
Yep. Of course, one, but,
It's a little overplayed for us.
Yep. Like,
still great song.
It is a great song. Great music video. It's just crazy to think, though, like, how much, like, airplay it gets now when this was the album that didn't get any airplay. Like, these 3 albums that they'd put up to this time didn't get any radio play whatsoever. And that's why people love these so much, and is why people start to fall off once the Black Album.
Because the Black Album definitely is a major shifting point after this into that. It's still heavy. That album's still heavy metal, but it's slowly shifting to like a heavy rock type vibe.
But it's still great.
Still good.
Like
still a lot of stuff I enjoy on there.
That has Enter Sandman, which everybody knows. That was like their fucking hit single smash.
Laser 103 played that every hour on the hour.
Yep. Like it used to be every day at 3:00 I could turn on the radio and Metallica would be on. And honestly, to this day, if I can find Fuel coming on the radio and I'm just like driving around, I
sent you a video.
I get a little amped.
I sent you a video of me listening to Fuel. Yeah.
There's no shame in it. Like if Fuel comes on the radio, I'm like, yeah, Full 5, it's kind of funny though, like playing that song. If you actually like learn some of Metallica's stuff on guitar, like you can feel how different this is.
It is, yeah.
Like a lot of like the earlier stuff is like very riffer. It's like multi fingers and a lot of like trills. It's like this hand and this hand like working very intricately together. But on something like Feel, it's just like down and down and down, 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 down. But even then, it's still good. I feel like those albums were still good and still memorable. And then you get to Saint Anger, and it's like, okay, you jumped the shark.
Guys lost me.
And even then, I tried to stay like signed on for longer than I should have, because it was 2003, I think, that album came out.
Well, I'm glad I got to enjoy Injustice for All. I like it quite a bit. I'm surprisingly not a huge fan of Master of Puppets. I don't hate it, but I'm not. It's not.
I thought you said you liked it.
I'm just saying, in my ranking system, I like.
Yeah,
Kill
out
'Em
of all the things
Ride
that
the
you could
Lightning.
listen to.
Yeah, Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning. Probably Ride the Lightning over Kill 'Em All.
We're talking about some like old squids here, some old Cthulhus,
Yeah.
some old metal gods.
They got a Cthulhu song on Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets.
Oh, Call of Cthulhu.
And, well, Master of Puppets has The Thing That Should Not Be. That's a Cthulhu song, too.
Really?
Yeah. That's a good one. I like that one quite a bit.
All right.
But
So-
you need to check out Dyer's Eve again.
Oh,
when you get a
like I'm
chance.
familiar with it, but it's just like not so ingrained in my head that
Jumped out at me. I was just taken aback. I was like, that can't be Lars.
We're probably coming
Lars
from
couldn't even keep time on some of these tracks.
we're probably coming from like two different places where you just listen to this album with no attachment, where I was literally held hostage by this album because it was all I had as a kid. And I feel like that era is kind of gone, where if you bought an album with all your money and that's all you had for a bit,
It's going to be on.
Yeah,
It's going to be playing continuously.
yeah, you would learn how to like it.
Like
You
Static
would-
X.
Yeah, you would try to find something. Nowadays, it's just like you just listen to the single. You don't even
Toss
have.
it.
Yeah, you don't even have to listen to the whole album. You don't even have to listen to like something that is present, like the presentation of an album. Does that even exist anymore?
On the ones that I really enjoy, yeah. The presentation of the album,
Well-
the pacing, the overall layout.
I mean in pop culture. And I don't mean by like pop albums, but like for every use of the term, the Black Album was a very popular album. And that has like a very well put together structure of like the way the songs are put together.
Yeah.
And when I feel like when I say that to you, you're thinking about like, some metal bands and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, there's like concept albums and stuff like that, and they flow together like a narrative, and that's very much so alive in that arena. But what about like the big popular ones? Is there any like popular progressive artists out there right now that are really doing something kind of like narrative like or experimental, where it's better to listen to everything rather than just their one hit?
It's really hard to say what Ed Sheeran's been up to. So I haven't been keeping up.
So on that note, you wanna
Send it away.
send her?
Shoot it off into
Just gonna send it.
away.
Like away. All right. Good night, everybody.
You've been awful.